But I do know that LA wouldn't be standing today if President Trump hadn't taken action. Then that city would have burned down if left to the devices of the mayor and the governor of that state.
One of the most absolutely perplexing things about a Donald Trump administration is not only the cult mentality and the atmosphere that's been created by Donald Trump, that is leaned into by his cabinet, these people that are in the highest positions of power in our society, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Attorney General of these United States, the Secretary of Defense, or the Secretary of War, it's getting ready to be renamed. These people are just supplicants of Donald Trump. They prostrate themselves before the dear leader and worship at the throne, heaping obsequious, bootlicking praise on someone who we've never seen a more unqualified asshole as president of the United States. And the other thing that they do beyond the praise, and you're going to see praise in this clip from Kristi Noem, it's also say things that are not only objectively false, but that are laughable that they would come out of somebody's mouth that knows that we live in the same country that they do. We watch the news that they create. We know what the situation on the ground is. In this particular case, it is Kristi Noem over the weekend on Face the Nation with guest host Ed O'Keefe. And she says something so batshit that it should be disqualifying for her to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. She states that if not for Donald Trump, as she's, again, heaping, bootlicking, lapdog praise upon him, oh, the dear leader, please, thank you. She says, LA wouldn't be standing if not for Donald Trump intervening with U.S. military force, with the deployment of the National Guard and my fellow brothers and sisters in arms in the United States Marine Corps who were deployed from Camp Pendleton to LA. That things were so dire in Los Angeles because of protests, because of people exercising their right to free speech, the right to assemble, the right to redress their government with their grievances. This was such a dire situation outside of the norm that the city would have fallen. The second largest city in the United States of America, one of the largest cities in the world, would have been ruined. It would have been rubble had it not been for Donald Trump's intervention. Watch this. And look, to Ed O'Keefe's credit, at least he had it in the moment. And I don't know if it's the control room chirping in his ear in his IFB, or just he came up with the follow-up. He's like, well, let me back up here. You're saying there wouldn't be a Los Angeles if not for Donald Trump? There's a couple other things we'll talk about on the other side.
But we will continue to go after the worst of the worst across the country, like President Trump has told us to do, focusing on those that are perpetuating murder and rape and trafficking of drugs and humans across our country, knowing that every single citizen deserves to be safe.
Part of what distinguished the Los Angeles operations, however, is that National Guard troops were there, in essence, protecting or backing up those federal agents as they conducted operations. Is that what we should expect to see in Chicago?
You know, that always is a prerogative of President Trump and his decision. I won't speak to the specifics of the operations that are planned in other cities, but I do know that LA wouldn't be standing today if President Trump hadn't taken action. Then that city would have burned down if left to the devices of the mayor and the governor of that state. And so the citizens who live there, the small business owners in downtown LA, they're thankful that President Trump came in with federal law enforcement officers and helped support keeping those streets open, keep their homes and businesses from burning down, and made sure the law and order was restored.
I just want to clarify one thing you said there. You said LA wouldn't be standing if not for these federal deployments?
So many of those homes and businesses that were in downtown LA and in those areas were dealing with riots and violence, and coming in and bringing those federal law enforcement officers in was incredibly important to keeping peace. And so we are grateful that President Trump was willing to send resources and people in order to enforce the law. And Ed, since then, we have arrested 5,000 dangerous illegal criminals out of LA and removed them from our country and had them face justice for their crimes.
First, and maybe the most important aspect of this, is what she said there at the end. She says, and we are so grateful to the president who is willing to send resources and people. What she's glossing over there is a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. That the United States military cannot, under law, be used as a law enforcement force on U.S. soil against the citizens of the United States. That's because they are not police. They are not trained to be police. They have a completely different mission constitutionally. It is war fighting. That's what they're trained. That's what I was trained to do. I wasn't trained to make arrests. I wasn't trained in riot control. I wasn't trained in constitutional policing. I wasn't trained in due process. None of that. All of those things you need to be an expert at, or you should be to be a police person, to be someone who's an armed agent, a representative of the state. That's not what the military is. Secondly, I guess I went on a little long there, that she's so willing to send resources and people in to enforce the law, again, not their role. And Ed, she says, since then, we have arrested 5,000 dangerous illegal criminals out of LA and removed them from our country and had them face justice for their crimes. Now, this is ridiculous on multiple fronts. If they had faced justice, that would mean they were provided due process. None of that's true. We know that. We know that they are unconstitutionally disappearing people from the streets with no due process. So that is not justice. By definition, it is not justice in a system of laws where the rule of law is respected. If Donald Trump is the law and order president who's not providing due process, then it's a monarchical system. It's a dictatorial system where he says what the law is, which he said in the past, I am the law. He told that to the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, during that meeting that time. But the other thing that is completely ridiculous is I won't speak to the specifics of the operation that are planned in other cities, which in itself, she's telling you, there are plans in the works for Chicago, continuations in LA, probably Seattle, in Atlanta, in New York City, where the violent crime rate is at historic lows. This is, again, a precursor or an initiation of a semblance of a civil war, where red state troops are sent to blue areas that don't agree with Donald Trump, didn't vote for Donald Trump, to get them in line to punish them. It's about retribution for Donald Trump. And the notion that LA would have fallen without Donald Trump's intervention is absolutely laughable. The sun would have fallen from the sky without Donald Trump doing, because he is the great, dear leader who knows all. The gorgeous garments of the emperor are beautiful, even though he's buck-ass naked. I would love your opinion on this. Listen, this is just one more element of elections have consequences. We need to get everyone on board. You need to talk to your friends and your family and your acquaintances, your coworkers, to alert them. If they're not news consumers, be the person that initiates in their head knowledge about what's going on in the world, because we're going to need everybody awake, woke, as it were. Anyway, what do you think? You can talk about it in the comments below. I invite you to this conversation. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Stop electing stupid people to high office, who then in turn appoint stupid people to high positions of power and are then confirmed by a Senate filled with stupid people. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.